I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight TV, we're honored to present a remarkable author. His name is Mike Stith, and he has written an amazing book. It is called At Your Service, authorized biography of Eugene, Uncle Gene Verdu. This biography unveils the remarkable journey of Eugene Verdu, a man whose innate calling to aid those in need propelled him to become a venerated teacher, philanthropist, and beloved Uncle Gene to many. From founding the Belize Children's Project to his impactful work with the elderly, Uncle Gene's legacy is a testament to the power of selfless service. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank our team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support writers like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his wonderful book. The links are below this interview. Mike, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
Great to see you, Logan. I admire your work.
Well, thanks so much. I admire your work as well. This is a fantastic book about a life well spent. Uncle Gene, was he actually your uncle, or you're one of the quote unquote nephews of many that he had?
Yeah, I think I'm one of the thousands of nephews. We were not related. I hadn't even met him until we started the book project. Then I spent 3 years with him, and it was just the most remarkable 3 years of my life. And I think he appreciated it too.
Let's tell the folks at home what distinguished him so much that you decided to write a book about him.
Well, I guess it was the legacy. My background is I collect stories about legacy, and I teach and coach people how to share theirs. I happened to be at a picnic with him one time, and someone who came up to me and said, "There's a man I want you to meet because they know what I did, and there's a man I want you to meet, and he's Eugene Verdu." And I had never met him, didn't know what to expect. And he turned out to be the most kind, mild gentleman I've ever met. You would never think that he was sort of a celebrity in his own right, a successful businessman, leader of multiple organizations. When I first met him, he was just like meeting my uncle. He was down to earth, hugging people. It was at a senior picnic, and he was around hugging people and laughing and cutting up. And we spent about an hour together, and he asked me, he said, "Mike, I've done some things that people would like me to write about. Would you be interested in helping me?" And that's how it started. It
Wonderful.
was going to be a small project in the beginning, and it grew to be fantastic.
And you said you spent 3 years with him?
3 years off and on. I was living in the St. Louis area at the time, and he lived in Belleville, Illinois, about half hour away. Talked on the phone. This was all prior to COVID. Okay. So we got to spend a good amount of time in the first 6 months. But then when COVID came around, we spent a lot of virtual time together. Okay.
Mhm.
So talked regularly on the phone. We traveled together. We shopped together. It was just a matter of, a very pivotal time in his life. And sadly, he passed away during the writing of this book, and he was suffering an illness when I first met him. So his health started to slip a little bit, and so we were very careful with the time we spent together. I ended up spending almost as much time at doctors' offices and in hospitals with him as I did in his own living room.
Amazing, amazing. Well, it sounds like your paths crossed right at the right time for both of you, for you to help him and also for you to help tell his story, which is a remarkable one. And one of his remarkable efforts, of course, was the Belize Children's Project. Tell us a little bit about this remarkable project that had impact on children and the communities that were involved.
I'll do that. I'll try to condense it. It's a story that's gone over 50 years, but he Gene started out as a missionary, okay, through the papal volunteers to Pope John Paul, and he was a missionary, and he eventually ended up in Belize to help build a school. He was going to be a school teacher in the first high school in San Ignacio, Belize. So he was there back in 1962. Okay,
Mm.
he taught his students, and he was a favorite teacher with the students the first year there. But as life would have it, these students became his best friends. Okay. So starting in 1962 and 60 years beyond, he had best friends, and he started meeting people in Belize. Well, he noticed a lot of severe orthopedic illnesses and disabilities on the streets of Belize. And actually, local citizens asked him if he could help out when he went back to the United States. Could you see what you could do to find people to help these kids? He was such a persuasive man, and he went back and he couldn't even believe it himself, but he was able to collaborate and convince Shriners Hospital in St. Louis to
Mhm.
work with them to help these kids in Belize. And that's what the very beginning. He started with one of his kids, brought them back, and with the help of host families in St. Louis, this kid stayed in town for months, in rehab, and went back. And that was really the beginning of the children's project. There were so many other families that approached him. He decided to do something more formal. Okay, and so with the help of many, many volunteers, um, you know, 60 years later, over 400 children have been helped.
Wow, it's amazing. He impacted that many lives, and obviously Belize is a country that is plagued with a lot of poverty
Yes.
as well. So he was able to help children get through and survive treatable malformations and illnesses and diseases, and that's
Yeah.
wonderful. He also worked with the aging population as well as chairman of the Illinois Council on Aging. Tell us a little bit about his role there.
Yeah, that was really his calling, his early calling in life. He did a lot of social work in the St. Louis area, East St. Louis, and he just, developed a passion for helping seniors in the inner cities. And since he was a child, the nuns at the school that he attended as a child really had such a strong influence, and he was groomed from the very beginning to help elderly people. Okay.
Mm,
So with the help and his once again his communication skills, with the help of many people and Washington D.C., he was able to secure funds. They would to started a program in the Belleville, Illinois area.
mm,
It called Programs and Services for Older People, PSOP. He founded this organization that became so popular, supported thousands of people, and just helping the local seniors. Okay, so that was his real passion that started his career, and very influential, a great fundraiser. And once again, he was able to enlist volunteers from around the country.
What message do you hope readers take away from your book on Uncle Gene?
Well, I talked to Gene deeply about this. Yeah, he was aging himself, and it's one of my favorite parts of this beautiful story is he was, as much as he did for the elderly population. He found he was meeting me. He was going through the same crisis that elderly people had. He was amazed that he was getting old. Okay, he was amazed that with all that he had done, he had still had a loss of purpose in his own life. And what he wanted me to convince people is, especially younger kids and poor kids, that if someone like him from a simple background like his can do what he's able to do, you can do it too. Okay,
Mm,
regardless of your race and your economic background, basically he believes people can do it, and just he wants people to work hard and
mm.
do more and do better. That was his inspiration. So he's left that with me, and I'm the one that's been handed the baton, the honor of continuing this message. And I want to do this as much as I possibly can with this book.
Well, it's a great message. It's an important message. And it also is a message of the power of one, how one person can make a great impact and then marshal the forces of others to help out, whether the
Yes.
people are young, old, or in between, people who are in need. Now, you're the founder of One Legacy LLC, and you're helping to preserve the life stories of different people. Tell us a little bit about your work there.
Oh, well, thank you for asking it. Yes, it all started back in 2009 or so. I accepted early retirement after a 30-year career in data processing customer service, totally unrelated. I
Mhm.
ended up being a caregiver for both of my parents. And
Mhm.
and basically, like anybody else who's going through a major retirement or career change, I also had to find my purpose. Well, my purpose came immediately with my mom. She spent weeks and years in nursing homes, okay,
Mhm.
going to hospitals and needing special care. I spent just so much time with her sitting there, and I saw the loneliness and the isolation at these community centers and these yeah, for the elderly population and the shut-ins and living at home. I just witnessed all of that. I wanted to do something that would make a difference, and I did. I started by listening to my mom. I basically, I realized that that's what part of our finding our purpose in life is telling our story. And so I
Right.
found many residents and friends that my mom lived with. I decided, I think I'd like to take this show on the road and basically offer a program for any senior community or any family that wants some help in collecting stories. So that's what got me involved. And I started a small company, the family company called One Legacy, and that's what we do. We share our stories and we help others share theirs.
And how do you actually share the stories?
Basically, we interview people. We basically, obviously Gene's book. That was
Mhm.
Gene's book. A lot of the reason Gene's book came about was because of COVID. Our
Mm,
program was stopped when COVID hit. We were not allowed to go into senior facilities, okay, for a couple of years. So,
right.
so I started focusing on individual biographies, and so I'm working on my second book now. But I'm also inviting others from anybody, any family or organization that wants coaching on how to, on how to bring it together for their residents and their family members. That's what I want to do. I just want to offer a service, okay, that helps people collect stories. We post many stories on our website. Okay, so basically, if you want to hear some good news stories or about personal legacy and life stories, you can go to our website and visit us at onelegacy.com.
OneLegacy.com sounds wonderful. And,
Yes.
you know, it's nice to carry on the stories that people have experienced during their lives. I'd love to have a video of my dad talking about World War II, that conversation that we never had, that kind of thing. So I think it's remarkable work. Is most of your work with Legacy One in written articles? I know you're writing another book, but is it
Mhm.
also video interviews with some of these folks?
I want to branch out someday um, to do video, and I have videos. We have done some videos, very special videos, but because of the nature of the model of my business, we haven't grown large enough to really bring in videos. Yeah, and the seniors, most of the seniors that I dealt with when I first started out, were not preferring videos. They wanted to sit and talk. Okay, so that was. I would love to do videos, but it's not a priority right now. I'm glad you brought that up. My mom would have just screamed if I would have put a camera in front of her.
Exactly. Technology and old people or older people sometimes don't go hand in hand.
Myself included. Yes,
Yep.
yes.
Well, you're doing great today. Tell us about the new book you're working on.
Well, I'm working on a book about a retired Navy chaplain. Okay,
Mhm.
like by the name of James Matthew Vargo. Okay, um, the book is called Broken Heart. Um, oh, Broken Collar, Mended Heart. Okay,
Mhm.
it's his life story, his world travels. Okay, as a chaplain, a Lutheran minister, and a Navy chaplain. It's a great story. He's 85 years old and just spilling his heart out. So we're in the middle of that process now, and
Wonderful.
that's
That sounds
really
like
it's really very good.
sounds like a great story, and the importance of a chaplain, whether they're in the military, the police force, or a hospital, those are the folks who are really with you in your time of need and your darkest hour. So they really do
Yes.
do God's work.
He really does. I mean, he's excited about. But but Logan, I just can't express enough the value of taking the time to listen to somebody,
Mm.
especially at that time in their life. And it's more than just writing this book. It's rejuvenating. It's giving him juices. It's rejuvenating him with stories, and so it's more of a physical and mental exercise as well as it is a biography. So I'm really honored to do that work.
Well, it really is great work, and I say this all the time. When I come across an elderly person and they look like they want to chat, I chat with them, and I'll stand at the market or wherever I am and just talk to them, and I'll say to my wife, I'll say, that might be the only social interaction that person has all day. You know,
Yes.
it's that important because, like you said, there's a lot of isolation in senior living, in nursing homes, over 55 communities. So it's important to, you know, take the time to listen to people who have lived a life and do have a lot to tell. That's the thing,
Oh,
too.
they do. They do.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind, I need to go back to one point that I want started to bring up. I mentioned Shriners Hospital,
Mhm.
in the St. Louis area, but there's another organization, Rotary Clubs,
Mm.
okay, in the Illinois Rotary Club 6510, and also Rotary Club of Belmont Pond, Belize. the work that they do with clinics and what Gene did such wonderful things in his life, right? But he couldn't have done it without all the volunteers that worked at these organizations and the families that helped him. It's just, the host families that actually host these children when they come into St. Louis for the surgery. So the kids live with them for months at a time. So I I didn't want to forget to say that because it's really
Well,
important.
yeah, it really is
Yeah,
important. And Rotarians really are the pillars of the community. They do great work. They're truly dedicated. And I do go to a few Rotary events in my community as well. And I do know they do great work. So I appreciate the
right.
reminder. Mike Stith has written a powerful book. It is called At Your Service, Authorized Biography of Eugene, Uncle Gene Verdu. It's a remarkable story of Eugene Verdu, a man whose innate calling to help others propelled him to be a remarkable man, a venerated teacher, a philanthropist, and a beloved Uncle Gene to many. Mike, thanks so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you, Logan. It's quite a pleasure.
Pleasure's all mine. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.